Republicans are still inching toward a majority in the House and may end up being decided by Republicans even in the deep blue state of California. Ironically, look at your screen. Mike Garcia remains ahead in California's 27th district. Kevin Kiley is ahead in California 3. Young Kim and Michelle Steele are closing in on victories in Southern California, and even prominent House Democrat Katie Porter is in a tight race in Orange County. Remember, Republicans need 218 seats. As you can see, we put it on the screen, and to win that House majority, which it appears they are headed towards. Joining us now, former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. I mean, it's pretty remarkable developments that Adam Laxalton is now an odds-on favorite in Nevada. We have a highway now for Blake Masters based on new numbers. We have more outstanding votes tonight. 400,000 of the 650 outstanding are day of handed in ballots. That Blake Masters have been winning 68% of those. That's an interesting story tonight. And then the runoff in Georgia, a state you know well. Your thoughts on all of it, Newt Gingrich?
Look, I think this is the wildest election of my entire career. As you know, because I was on the show,
1994 was a big night.
Much further ahead. Yeah. Well, it was, but I'm just saying, I look at this, and there's so many questions. You know, in 2014, when we won, Reince Priebus, as the Republican National Committee chairman, asked me to develop a review, even though we'd won, to try to figure it out. And I think that Ronna McDaniel, the chair of the RNC, ought to set up a similar review committee. There's so many questions that we need to get answered. Apparently, House Republicans got 5 or 6 million more votes than Democrats, but it didn't translate into the same comparable number of seats. We need to examine that. Apparently, some incumbents lost who shouldn't have. We should examine that. No incumbent lost in 2020 with Kevin McCarthy's leadership, and no Republican lost in 1994 when we took the House. So there are a lot of things we have to ask ourselves. But I'll tell you this. I talked to Herschel today. He is out there running. Every single game that went into overtime in his career, he won. He sees this exactly the same way. I think he's going to win. But I agree with Lindsay. Everybody who can help him ought to go to teamherschel.com and do so. I think that Adam, who has worked very hard, is very smart, former Attorney General of Nevada. I think Adam is going to win. I think now that Blake Masters is going to win. And I look at what's happening with Kari Lake. She's going to win. We're going to end up, by the time this is over, every effort of the news media to make Republicans feel bad is going to fall apart. And remember, the biggest change in Washington will be when Nancy Pelosi handles that gavel over to Kevin McCarthy. You go from a radical liberal to a solid conservative. That is the biggest single change. And my sense from Biden's press conference yesterday, he didn't get any of it. He has no idea what's going on. I think they're going to continue down the same disastrous road.
What do you think the message, what advice do you give Herschel? It's kind of interesting. He never lost an overtime game in his life. That's not a record many people can say.
You know, I don't know if he'll do it, but I told him something I learned many, many years ago from a former Republican governor of Ohio who used to take his wallet out and put it on the podium. And he'd say, let me tell you what this race is about. My opponent wants to take money out of your wallet. I want to put money into your wallet. Now, do you want more money in your wallet, or do you want them taking it out of your wallet? Well, this guy won an amazing number of governorships because people got it. The key race here is simple. You have in Warnock somebody who is to the left of Bernie Sanders. I mean, Warnock is genuinely right at the edge of extreme socialism. And he also has a terrible record as a landlord where they have kicked people out of houses for as little as $26. I mean, it's just really a remarkable story. You have Herschel Walker, by the way, a guy who's...
he talks about character. Look at his friends, you know, Louis Farrakhan and Jeremiah Wright and Fidel Castro. And by the way, speaking of domestic violence, he was accused of that, and he was arrested for obstructing an investigation into his camp of child abuse. Why do you think Republicans in the House, they're going to get a majority, it appears, but it's not going to be anywhere what we thought it was, yet they won by 6 million more votes, according to the latest numbers. How did that
Right.
doesn't add up to me.
Well, that's why I think we need a serious study committee to really stop and take a look. Look, as you know, because we've talked about it many times, every model I believe in failed in this election. And that's why I was very confident going into Election Day. I'd spent 3 days campaigning with Kevin McCarthy, watching him work, seeing how he was doing it. It was a remarkable. He's raised $480 million. He went out and recruited. This will be the most diverse, most inclusive House Republican Party in history. They developed a commitment to America that's much more sophisticated than what we did with the contract with America back in '94. So I really went into election night when Callista and I went down to watch returns with Kevin. I felt really good until I began to realize there's something missing here. And I agree with you. When I saw the Cook report, which said, as of this morning, that 6 million more votes for Republicans, I think as California comes in, it may slide down to 5 million. But still, we get 5 or 6 million more votes and we don't pick up a whole bunch of seats. We need to analyze that. I mean, there's something going on out there that we don't understand. And frankly, a lot of the expert analysis, which was based on race, the races, are wrong when you start looking at the votes. So there's a lot to be learned out of this. But Kevin McCarthy, I can't wait for the moment where Pelosi has to hand, if she's still there, Kevin McCarthy the gavel, and the degree to which in committees, in investigations, in scheduling things, all of a sudden you're in a totally different house.
You know, my kids are athletes. A win is a win, and sometimes you win ugly, not with your best game, and I'll take it. Anyway, Newt Gingrich, thanks for being with us. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.